So in this video, we get punchy, we discover things. The dog needs feeding again. And we get the big guns out. Hello, welcome to Tweed's Garage. Well, in this video, we're going to have a rummage around in the garage, see if we can drag something else out and see if we can get it to run. Yeah, because we're on a bit of a roll. A few of the projects are sort of up and running, which is quite, yeah, a little bit disconcerting. Not used to that. So come with me as we go next door and go and see if we can pull something else out of the garage, see if we can get that to run. Yeah, and I think the dog's got a wood lice he wants to show you. Yeah, come on in, let's go. Where you from? I'm going to be looking at my Adler Mb250. This is a German two-stroke 250 twin 54mm bore by 54mm stroke, and as we're on a roll getting some of the fleet going, I thought we'd dig this out and have a look at it. So it hasn't been run for a fair few years. I can tell that by the smell of the fuel. It absolutely stinks. So need to do a few jobs. Last time I rode it, it was pinking badly. I think it's just the timing was out, but I'd had a sort of long run of sorting out electrical problems, and you know, you just get to a point you sort of run out of patience. You know, you thought you're going out for a ride and enjoy it, and you end up coming back disheartened and wondering what the problem was. But I think I know what the problem is, so we need to look into it. So in this video we're going to sort of start taking it apart. Well, not taking it apart, need to take the fuel tank off because I had a look in the top and it's got that sort of rusty crud floating around in it. Not actual sort of really bad rust, but where little flakes have come off here and there and they just collect on the sort of spine top on the tank. And I was fishing around in there trying to sort of push this dent out, and whenever I took the piece of metal out that I was trying to push that out with, it was all covered in, you know, rusty crusty muck. So I think tank off, drain it out, give it a clean, and I think we'll try the old citric acid trick just to clear out the rust, give it a clean, put some fresh fuel back in it, then get on to the timing, which I think is the main issue. So yeah, come along for the ride. So the tank is fixed in 4 places, one each side here and then towards the front here and over here. But before I take the tank off, what I'm going to do is remove the carb as well. I've had it off before. It's been sat there and I think the fuel tap's been open. It hasn't leaked any fuel out, but I should imagine it's full of crap again and varnish, and we'll need all the jets cleaning out before we attempt to restart it. So what I'll do is start stripping the carb out. Unfortunately it's not easy. It's under this nice decorative cover here, which is held on by this securing nut here. But to get this off, you've got to remove the slide and choke out of the carburetor, disconnect the fuel line, then you can get this cover off, then you can get down into the bolts and the fixings where it fixes on to the incoming air box. Being German, it'll hopefully all be metric. He says 13. Oh, it's a bloody 14. What was it with the French and the Germans and 14mm blimmin' spanners? Right, the old King Dick metric adjustable. Petrol smells distinctly like white spirit. So that's that off there. Try and get that banjo out of the pipe, pop it back on there so we don't lose it. What we'll do is tip it up that way a bit so it's up out of the way. Next thing is take the top of the carb off. Ah, carb's loose. Interesting. That may have been why it was pinking. I think the timing is out, but that won't have helped. Typical German engineering. Looks lovely, but a pain in the bum to work on. Right, move that over there and undo that. And wiggle that up. And there we have one Bing 22mm carburetor and very delicate rubbers. Oh yeah, loose as a doofer on there. I forgot to do it up. Okay, we managed to wrestle it off. It's a bit more pliable than it looks, a bit persuasion. And then out comes the very stinky carburetor. There we go. Right, to the bench for that. Absorbent terry towel underneath, because it really does stink. Says he, dropping it in his toolbox, open drawer. So I think one thing that will need changing, it's got a Paxilin bush in here. Later on they use sort of nylon and plastic on the Japanese carb plate just as a bit of an insulator, but unfortunately it's quite fragile stuff, and it's got a groove running down there, and yeah, a lot of crap, so I reckon it's been sucking air in through there, which doesn't help. And also the yeah, as I suspected, the gasket was terrible, so need to make a new gasket. Some goop on that when it goes back on, some decent stuff. Okay, let's strip this carburetor down for cleaning. So we take the float bowl top off. Remove the float. All stamped up Bing, all good, not full of fuel. And yeah, there's a reason not to sit there jabbing away at your flooding needle there. State the damage on top of that float. You know, you just need to push it down just so it lets the fuel in. So that's that. That's the manifold off, and what I'm hoping to do is remove this old Paxolin spacer stroke insulator stroke gasket in there, and I've got a piece of etracetal turnable plastic, so we'll turn up a new one to replace this one and get it a bit of a snugger fit than this. It's not too bad, but you get in there and it wobbles around and you're just relying on this clamp to squash the aluminium a little bit to grab on. So there's that to do. Then remove the needle valve cover and atomizer jet. And the needle jet. I think this is the idle jet. There, and this one is the main jet. There, they look pretty good. We'll give them a clean. Pop the body. The body's not too bad, but we'll pop it in the ultrasonic cleaner. And we'll remove the idle mixture adjuster, so we'll just turn it in, count the turns. Half, 1, 1.5, about average really. Seems to be fairly standard across most carbs, but don't take it for granted. Read your manual, and then just take the tick over adjuster out. I'll leave it roughly where it is. Try and get them undone, taken out together, so we know roughly where it is when we put it back together. There we go. Just rests on the bottom of the slide on the inside. Oh, there's a spring there. So I'll get this off. I'll need 3 pairs of hands to get that off. And then the body can go in the ultrasonic cleaner. What I will try and do is get this out. I'll probably end up destroying it, getting it out. But yeah, as I said, we're going to make a new one. So after cleaning out the petrol, the next thing to do is get the petrol tank off. And I thought you needed to remove the saddle to get the tank off, but you don't need to. That was a bit of a job. Had to drill the bolts out in the end. But yeah, that hinges up, which reveals this typical over-engineered German seat that not only has the coil springs to support your weight, but it's hinged at the front. It moves like that. Has a main frame that goes from the nose of the seat right to the back, and then has this inner subframe that goes from the back and supports the middle of the saddle there, and then you go towards the front, and that's supported on two strong springs, which you have the option of moving it up and down those three notches there to increase or decrease the sprung tension on it, so that the seat also sort of hinges in the middle as well. Slightly bizarre, but a quality thing, obviously. Now, the way to get the tank off was to actually just remove the steering damper knob off of the top of the fork stem. Just unscrew it like so, and that just gives you a little bit more clearance to loosen the fixings on the tank. 10mm bolts at the front, and then threaded collars at the back that required you to remove the taps and use a C-spanner to get them off. But luckily I've got this nice little set of C-spanners that also convert into pin spanners, so I can get these sort of items off without having to resort to knocking them around with a centre punch or a screwdriver. So with those off, just a case of moving the tank forwards and upwards and out, and then that is the tank removed. So let's go and have a look at that. So with the tank off, you can see it's sort of pretty grotty down the bottom. I think most of it is varnish. There's some flaking rust down there, but it only comes up about 2 inches up the side. Then the rest of the tank, and as you can see, the spine of the tank is all pretty good. So we're going to put some citric acid in that. First, I'm going to filter that stinky old petrol whilst everybody's out at work, and pop that back in with some sorted nuts and bolts and roofing nails, and give it a good old shake around to get the worst of it up, and then wash it out, flush it out, and then we'll put the citric acid mix in there and leave it to stand for 24 hours and see what it's like afterwards. But before I could do that, I needed to blank the fuel taps off, and of course I needed different fittings. I think this one was 16mm thread, 1mm pitch. This was 14mm thread, 1.5. So they were easy enough to turn up. You've seen me do those before.
but I didn't really check. I was thinking this screwed on into there like this one, but it doesn't. It goes into this adapter collar here. Fuel tap screws into there, and then that screws onto the tank, and then you sort of tweak and fiddle around with a washer in the middle to seal it up. And yeah, I should have looked at it and realised that this is actually a reverse thread. So I turned this one up as a conventional right-handed thread, but I had to turn up a left-hand thread. So just reverse the lead screw on the lathe and just cut it in the opposite direction. And they took me about 16 minutes each to do, so no great time. And then popped them out of the lathe, just stuck them in the mill, just run a flat on each side to accept 18mm spanner will go on there, just to nip them up, and a couple of O-ring in that one and a flat washer on that one just to seal them up. So with those sealed up, it's just a case of filling it up with stinky petrol and rattling around, getting the worst rubbish out, and then get it ready for citric acid.
Okay, and that's where we're going to stop now on the fuel tank. He's very keen, but yeah, things sort of snowball a little bit and jobs take longer than we can cover in this video, so we'll look at that in another video. So in the meantime, back to the carburetor and things. So whilst we're here, I thought we'd pull apart the fuel tap, because that didn't seem to be working, and there's a good reason for that. Crap in the bottom of there. I've taken this filter off and cleaned it. This filter here, took it off very gently because it looks like it's sort of cast Mazak type of thing. Basically, the reserve hole is blocked, and the main hole, I'm surprised it ran at all actually, because you know, this hasn't happened in a couple of years. This has been going for a long time, and all 4 holes are solid, absolutely solid. So I'll clean these out and blow it all out, pop it in the ultrasonic cleaner as well whilst we're doing the carburetor, and that'll be a good job done. So put all the bits of carburetor in the ultrasonic cleaner, spool them up quite nicely. So we've got those, and that's the union for the right hand side of the tank, and then we've got our needle jet, that's our jet cover for the main jet. We've got our primary, secondary, and then our little filter screwed into inside the fuel tap there. Took it very easy with that, because that looks like that sort of a Mazak type material, so didn't leave it in too long, but it's cleaned it up enough. And then we got our filter bowl there, come up nicely, and the taps come up nicely. I had to drill out all these inlets and outlets. They were absolutely choked with this gunk. I was talking to Dean about it. We reckon it might have had Castrol chucked in the fuel tank, you know, along with motor oil for the 2-stroke mix. It just left in the bottom of the tank. It just gunked everything up. The actual carb and the actual float bowl and off to the engine was all clean. It's just where sort of stuff had been left standing over the years. This was absolutely choked up, and you can see there, if I move that closely, this brass tube has actually got eaten away, and this bit's broken off. So this is the standard fuel tap pipe, this one is a reserve, and then there was, you saw me pull it out, there was a filter. This mesh was around those two like that, but that's useless. And around the union, I noticed you can see there's actually sort of bronze mesh inset around there. Whether this bit is pushed in, I don't know. So this bit had a filter on it as well at some time, so I'll make some new filters to go around these. Not quite sure how I'll fit them on, but we'll go about that. Actually picked a bit up from Bewley. Where is it? This sort of galvanised mesh, very fine mesh, but that'll do. We can solder that up, make a couple of filters that we can pop in and take out and check occasionally, and I've got enough of it to make more than one. And then the other thing is, you can see the fuel tap. This is the shut off. It's sort of been eaten away there because it's a 3-position hole, so wherever it's been sitting with fuel sitting behind it has eaten away, which would go along with being Castellar. When it goes all sticky, it tends to start eating stuff away. Hopefully we can stone this up and see if it stops the flow of fuel and turns on the main and the reserve, but we'll have to see how that goes. We'll have to drill all that out as well, but there's not really enough meat in there to file that back to get a flat face on that all across. But anyway, so that's that. So what we did discover, we picked it all out. There was a cork washer in here that provided the sealing. I've had a go at sort of making one. Got the holes in the wrong place, but that was just a trial run, which was this stuff. But I think that might be too thin, and this tap will be rubbing on those extruded openings there. So I've got some thicker stuff that I picked up. Might be too thick, but we'll give that a go. And it hasn't got the rubber embedded in it, because you tend to find with this rubber, especially this stuff, the modern fuel just melts that. So we'll try a bit of this. We can always sand it down a little bit, get it a bit thinner actually, get it to where we want it. And then the other thing, like the SU carburetor on the Riley, on the float bowl tops, you can see, because this had glue all around it, so this was obviously leaking, and they just glued it all up and bunged it up. I think if I stone that face and stone that face, fibre washers will seal that up quite nicely on there. And we've got rid of all the glue that was round there, so we can get this back into operation. So it was only feeding for a long time only from one side of the tank, hence why probably all this got gummed up. So and see if we can repair this and this and make a seal for this. See if we can clean this face up a bit. We're not going to manage to get this back down, but we'll see if we can get a nice solid ring all the way around. Okay, we've been going at it a little while, managed to clear it up, so we just got the 3 positions, and then we've got no track in between each of the holes. We've got sort of, you know, a nice flat surface between those two and those two, and all the way around. So we won't take it any further, we don't want to lose any more material, so we can get ready to make the gasket, and then hopefully that'll function. So before I sort out the cork gasket, we'll just put this carburetor back together. So we've got less pieces kicking around. That jet goes in there, that's the needle jet. Pop that in there like so. Get that, and that goes on there like so. And then we've got our jets to go on here, which goes in there, which is the main jet in there, like so. Idle screw back in there. There is our idle mixture adjusting screw. Pop that in there. And then just remember all the way in to there, and it was 1.5, so half, 1.5 should be about where it was. And then I managed to cut out the old Paxlin sleeve. In the end, I just, because it had a slot halfway down, just run a knife down the bottom end, just sort of cut through it till it was enough to peel it inwards, and then peeled it out. And then this is the new one we've turned up, ready to go in. So that should push in there quite nicely. Like so. And that'll be ready to go on our manifold, which we sort of cleaned up and faced off as well. So I've got a nice flat surface, and that goes in there. Yeah, I won't push it all the way in yet, but it's a lot tighter than the old one. This clamp, that just drops on there now because I've got rid of those burrs. and then that'll be ready to be clamped on the manifold. We pop it back together, just pop that in there so we've got less parts kicking around on the bench. Pop the float back in there. Yeah, funny, it's got a top of the needle there, it's actually like a little cap over the rod with a taper on the end of it. You must have been able to get those as a spare part just to pop on top there. Pop that there, loosely for now. That banjo looks okay. Oh yeah, I've just got to face that other one up, that one. There we go, I reckon that'll do that. So we don't lose the other bits, we just loosely pop the filter back on there, as long as the aluminium hasn't swollen or done anything weird. No, that's alright. There, like so. Okay, that can go on there for safekeeping. Now we've got the fibre washers with glue. I'll try and find some new ones that will fit that. There we go, so that's rubbish. Made our gasket as well for the manifold. All we need to do now is make a gasket seal to hopefully seal this fuel tap back up. Okay, so we've got an inch cutter here to cut out our disc to start off with, so we'll give that a go. Yeah, lovely. Okay, and hopefully that'll fit in there. A bit of a squeeze round. Okay, we'll just run it round the belt sander. That's a nicer fit in there. So what we do, it's the same thing we do when we're making gaskets. Get a pencil, just rub that around the high spots, graphite around all the edges, position that on there, gently drop it in, give it a good old squeeze against the hole positions, pop it back out, holes there. See how we go, might have to have a couple of goes at it. Yeah, so unfortunately that's split there, but let's spread it about a bit, so I think we can afford to make those holes a bit smaller. And it has spread the gasket out a bit, but if we push that into there with slightly smaller holes, I think that'll do the job. Right, bear with, come back to you when I've done one. Attempt one. There we go, second attempt, made those holes slightly smaller, went down a punch size, and that seemed to work very well. So hopefully we can just pop that back together. So yeah, when you're looking down at it, reserve that way. Yeah, so it must go on like that. Yeah, managed to get them on with the pliers. Just give them a little squeeze home. There we go. Seems to be resistance there. Seems to be turning. But we won't know. Do we pop it back on the bike? Could blow on it, but all the holes are, all these are full. Hang on, I can blow the other way. Bear with. Okay, I did it the right way round. It's me not knowing German. Zoo is apparently two. I don't know what that means. Should be off, but maybe it has a double meaning. AUF, off is open, and then reserve is reserve. And it seems to work when I blow down there. In the off position, it's blocked because that hole is open to that blank up the top there, and then those two switch between here and reserve, and then the standard open is, I think, is just that one. Yeah, it's open position is just this long tube, and then reserve is this lower tube, and it feeds from the other side of the tank. So quite a big reserve actually. Yeah. Okay, that seems to work. Success. So there you go, and that's where we'll leave it. The carburetor is successfully put back together. It wasn't too bad actually. I think I'd cleaned it before the last time when I took it out for a ride a few years ago, so that's why I thought it was the timing. But as we've discovered by the state of that fuel tap and all the outlets on the fuel tank, I think we were running lean. After we'd run a little bit, we were just running out of petrol as we were going along. So hopefully that'll be an improvement. Just need to sort out how to change these brass tubes in here into aluminium. Yeah, it might just be a press fit, I think. I don't think you can solder brass into aluminium. I haven't heard of it, but I'll look into it. But that's a me problem, not a you problem. So just got to sort those out so that tap works as it should. And then the next video on the Adler, we'll be working on the fuel tank, because if you can imagine what state the fuel tap was in, the inside of the fuel tank needed looking at as well. So we do it chemically, so it's a bit of sort of Professor Honeydew and Beaker. Yes, Jenkins will be Beaker in the next video. All right, so hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a like, hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time. All right, cheerio. Yeah, Jenkins, your schoolboy German was no help. Known German swear words.